Everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone in the room at the Kern Community College District, and to all of our students who are tuning in via the live web stream. Welcome. I'm the Chancellor of the Kern Community College District, Sonia Christian, and I'm so pleased to be hosting this event, the Jean Fuller Leadership Seminar Panel. My job today is just to welcome you and then to turn it over to Senator Fuller. So in terms of welcoming you, I want to recognize one of my bosses who's in the room today, Trustee Nan Gomez Heitzberg. And all the way from Porterville, the president of Porterville College, Dr. Claudia Habib. At this time, I would like to recognize all of the vice presidents from the colleges, the vice chancellors, the associate vice chancellors, faculty from the colleges. Please stand up and be recognized. Actually, everyone from the Kern Community College District, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you for being here. And to our students, I'm so happy that Judge Avila brought students from the law program, and these women are here for you. And I can't wait to tune into the conversation, listen to what they have to say, the paths that they went through, and what you're going to be hearing from them is truly their hearts and their journeys. So it's going to be another side of amazing women that we have not seen before. And before I hand it back to Jean Fuller, I want to recognize the planning team who put in a lot of work to make this happen. Our technology team, Todd Costin, Shannon Messer, Dylan Wong, the Beacon team. Go ahead and give them an applause. Dr. Maria Wright could not have done this without you, who was behind all of the programming pieces. Maria, please stand up and be recognized. She's a young mother of 2 beautiful children. And I want to recognize Norma Rojas Mora, who's not here with us because she's driving to Berkeley for an event related to the energy program, and the entire team that worked with Norma to pull off this event. My partner in crime, the redhead behind, Jennifer Surratt. And last but not least, our student, Barack, where are you? Barack? Please stand up, Barack. Barack is a biology major, a future physician, and I do need to introduce you to some key people here later on. And with that, let's get this show on the road. Dr. Jean Fuller.
Thank you. Dr. Christian, it's my pleasure to be here with this wonderful, wonderful gathering. You are the strength of Bakersfield and Kern County and Tulare County. Think about how big the representation is from this room. It's amazing. And having driven those areas a lot, I really appreciate that you're here and that you are all working together for the benefit of our valley. And I'd like to start out. We have an amazing powerhouse of women for you, and I am very excited to be facilitating this conversation with ladies of such great accomplishment. Many of them I knew when they were much younger, and I was much younger. So today I would like to introduce first Judge Wendy Avila, who was appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom, making her the first Latina to serve on the Kern Superior Court. The judge has over 20 years in the field and has served as a deputy district attorney at the Kern County District Attorney's Office for 18 years. Judge Avila has also been the Senior Assistant Inspector General at the Office of the Inspector General since 2017. She has attended the University of California at Santa Barbara for her undergraduate studies, and then the University of San Francisco School of Law. In a news article, the judge shared that her upbringing inspired her professional aspirations. She shared that she was adopted at just 3 months. She experienced the loss of her brother, who was murdered at age 23, and lost both of her adoptive parents at a very young age. And here she is representing others that she can help. Mrs. Martha Flores, give a little wave, is mayor of Porterville. Prior to serving as mayor, Martha worked as the executive administrative assistant to the assistant superintendent of instruction. She retired from the position in 2010. She established Frugal Fashions. Oh, that was such an exciting little place. I was there once, which operated from 1992 to 2011. Frugal Fashions helps community members shop for professional wear at thrift stores. In doing so, this program empowers participants to attain gear and materials for professional development on a limited income. Let's give her a little hand. Thank you. Dr. Brenda Lewis, another person I've passed a lot in the education world, was appointed by Governor Gavin Newsom to the California Board of Education earlier this year. That's awesome for our valley. She was formerly served as the Associate Superintendent of Instruction at the Kern High School District for 7 years. She has a Master of Science degree in Physical Education from Oklahoma State University and a Doctor of Education degree in Organizational Leadership from the University of La Verne. Dr. Lewis has been a pillar in the community and has received several accolades, including 17 News Remarkable Women, and was named the Grand Marshal at the 2022 Black American History Parade this year. I'm just going to mention that Ms. Karen Go was going to be with us this morning, but you know how city business is, and there was a little situation, so she won't be here today unless she's very late, probably not then, but we all know her. What you probably don't know was that she worked as a music educator at Bakersfield Christian Life School, now known as Bakersfield Christian High School, before she was elected to office of mayor. So she's another good advocate for all of us and someone we can all call when we need help with education in particular. These ladies played roles in creating inspirational ideas and shaping the work that happens in Kern County. Now let's talk to our panelists. Each of you have unique paths that shaped you as a leader and made you who you are today. And today I would like to focus on your history, your challenges, and the words of wisdom to our students and educators who carry on in the education profession today. And most of you know I was a former superintendent, so I count myself as an educator too, so I get this advice as well. Judge, you and I have known each other for a long time, and as we sit here together, I look forward to learning more about what has shaped your leadership roles and opportunities. So can you tell us about your experience in public service and the challenges you have faced as the first Latina judge in our county?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me. You know, for me, this has been a very personal journey. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. My journey's been a very personal one. You know, when I was appointed by the governor, and I was appointed in December of 2020, and ultimately took the bench in January of 2021 as Kern County's first Latina, I received such an outpouring from the community, and I realized, and I knew this all along, but just
The reaction that I got to that made it very clear that my appointment was not only important for me, but that it was so important to so many other people in the community. One of the mantras that I have long been a part of establishing Latino Leaders of Kern County very early is, if you can see it, you can be it. And prior to January of 2021, when I took the bench, there were 270,000 Latinas in Kern County that could not see themselves reflected on the bench. And just the outpouring of support that I received was just, it was overwhelming and very humbling to me. But what it also showed, and I can share with you that yesterday I had the privilege of attending the swearing in of the first Latina to the California Supreme Court. And that was an incredible experience for me. And one of the comments that was made really holds true for my appointment in Kern, and that is our firsts show not only how far we have come, but also how far we have to go. And we want to be sure that we are only first of many.
Awesome. Wendy and I worked together on SARB school board things many years ago, so she knows this business from bottom to top, and I'm just so proud that we can have you. Mayor Flores, you have also had extensive professional background in education through your work as the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and with the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction. Your background also includes things that support the marginalized community members. Can you tell us what inspires you to your work and your tireless commitment to the community to help, especially the women that were dressing professionally?
Absolutely. It is an honor to be here amongst everyone in this room today, because you have something to bring to the table, regardless of the path that you have chosen. I was very fortunate. I began to work at a very young age. I went to go work for a bank, and I got hired as a bookkeeper, a teller, and then I became a note teller and recognized I wanted more. That is where I began to work with people. However, it was problem solving and community relations. I just wanted more. I was very grateful that I had that job. However, I had a customer that came up to my teller window and she said to me, "I am leaving my job across the street." It was for a title company. "If you have an interest, you should go and apply." I had the shorthand and typing schools because I come from the world of home economics was taught in high school. It was the cooking and sewing, and the business career classes were shorthand and typing. I went, I applied, and I got the job. There, having the skills, I began to work with individuals one-on-one. I learned every aspect of working in what a person needs to do to buy a home, and I got to work with lenders. I got to work with the property taxes to read the title report, the title searches, and yet I knew that I needed a little bit more. I learned the aspect of housing and the title and escrow company and everything that everybody needed to do. However, I went from the private business sector to the public sector, and I became employed with Porterville Unified School District as the administrative executive assistant for the assistant superintendent, and I'm looking straight at her. She joined me today. I have to tell you that I worked there for 30 years, and after retirement, I was able to go back to work as the interim executive administrative assistant for the superintendent. Working in education helped me. It helped me to work with the parents, the family through the enrollment process, and knowing that every time there was a problem at the school site, at the campus, they would come and see us. The diffusion firsthand, being that frontline person, it taught me to balance and to listen, which is something that was a little difficult for me in the beginning. I don't deny it. That is where my interest in the local government and the knowledge of the local resources that were available to me to become involved in community service, community involvement, and the understanding of the organization. In 2008, the woman that is here today called me into her office, and she said, "You have helped so many people work on local campaigns, and you have helped them get in office. When are you going to run for office?" On that day, that became music to my ears. I ran a campaign, and in 2008, my first elected position was for the Sierra View Medical Healthcare District. I didn't look back. My interest in public service grew along with my knowledge and my role of the local government. I made attending city council meetings a priority. That I attended council meetings for 13 years before I decided to run. And while I was working on local campaigns and bond initiatives in our area, I reached out to former Mayor and Council Member Virginia Gurola, who decided she was not going to run for re-election, and she asked me if I had an interest. The same person who encouraged me to run for office, when I called her, her words to me were, "Are you sure you want to do this? It's different." And I believed almost immediately that I was going to be encouraged. Yes, go ahead. And I was stopped at that question when she asked me, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And I told her at that moment, if I don't do this right now, I will regret it later on. I will be accepting of the outcome at the time of the election and when the votes come in. She said, "Okay, I'm going to help you." I was elected to City Council in 2016 and became the mayor in 2018. I ran for re-election in 2020 in my district. And after serving as vice mayor and then mayor pro tem, circumstances required a reorganization of the council, and early this year, I was elected as mayor for the second time. It pleases me to announce that we also have a female for a vice mayor, Vice Mayor Kelly Carrillo. She may be listening to me, so I'll be nice. My inspiration, my mentor, my friend, she taught political science, and she is in attendance today, Val Staley.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, well, I get more excited as I hear all these stories. It brings back a lot of war stories for me, too. So, Dr. Lewis, you made your mark in our community through your work as the former superintendent of instruction at Kern High School District. But now your legacy will continue at the state level as you serve on the state's Board of Education. This is a very important role. I know as a superintendent, you know, I was a superintendent in LA County too. I had to go to that board many times and testify. And people with your experience are rare on that board. And so I'm very excited that you will be representing us from the Valley. This is so important. So maybe you could tell us more about how you got to that position and what keeps you motivated, and you know, what did you get into for all of us?
Oh, I tell you. So that's a loaded question. And to give you an answer, I'm going to have to start from the beginning and do, as Sonia said, speak from the heart. So initially, education was not the field that I wanted to go into. I'm an implant to California. I'm from a small town in Oklahoma. I'm the number 10 of 11 children. I think in order to tell your story, you got to start from the beginning, because I think all of my life experiences, all of my role models have gotten me to this point today. And so my parents were my first role models with a great work ethic and always stressing education and our relationship with Christ. Those were the two major things in our home. And so I initially was not going into education. I'm going to tell a quick story about when I was in elementary school. There was this woman named Miss Glass, and she was the office supervisor, and I still remember Miss Glass because she was so nice. And when I did this in a presentation, I showed the old black phones with all the different color buttons on them, and I thought it was so impressive when I would go into the office and Miss Glass would be on the phone with those buttons. So in elementary school, I thought, I want to grow up and be a secretary, right? So then I get to high school, and my senior year, I'm in an accounting class, and you know, you mature a little bit. Now it's no longer the secretary. I'm really looking for what I really want to do in life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that was a placeholder. And so when I got to high school, I took an accounting class, and I thought, oh, I love accounting, and I've been poor all my life, and CPAs make a lot of money, so I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be an accountant. Another placeholder. And so when I earned a scholarship, presidential leadership for grades and athletic scholarships, I went to college to play basketball. So the first summer there, my coach got me a job working for a program called Upward Bound. And it's a program that brings low-income students, at-risk students to the college campus for 6 weeks. And I was fortunate enough to be a mentor for them. And so that's when I finally found my passion to replace those placeholders, which was the secretary and the accountant. So that's how I got into the field of education. I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to be a coach. And so with that said, when I got out of college in Oklahoma, teachers die at their desk with their boots on, right? They don't retire. So I couldn't really get a job teaching, went on to finish my master's at Oklahoma State, and then got recruited to come to the Kern High School District. And I came as a teacher, started over at East Bakersfield High School, and oh, we got some East High Blades in the building. All right. And so I was a teacher and a coach at East Bakersfield High School, went over to Ridgeview High School, Wolfpack, all right, when it opened, and I was also the department chair and then a coach. And that's when I got into administration, partial administration. And so eventually, the reason I got into administration was not because I had a distaste. I stopped with my passion for teaching. It's just that I was encouraged by another African American administrator in the district who was a male and said, hey, we think you need to go into administration. And I spent more time in the Kern High School District in administration than I did as a teacher. So that's the bulk of my career in the Kern High School District. But I will say that had it not been for that encouragement from a mentor, I probably would still have my tennis shoes on and my whistle teaching PE until I retired. But I found a lot of gratification in the different positions that I've had. And I will say that I held every administrative position that you could possibly hold in the Kern High School District, beginning with a teacher. I was a department chair. I was assistant principal of instruction. I went on to be a dean of students, then assistant principal, director, back as principal, and then I was able to get the job as associate superintendent. And I say that, you know, to the young people. I think that's important to know that, you know, as you grow and you find your passion, sometimes you want to stay put, but you know, your abilities and your desires keep you longing to go and get in higher positions that can enable you to do more for students. And so that, you know, some people are motivated by money. I'm sorry, I'm motivated by passion. And to keep doing the job that I wanted to do for students and for teachers. And so that's how I landed in the associate superintendent's job. You know, challenges, I think one of the challenges was that initially when I was approached by that administrator to go into administration, I did not see a lot of women in administrative positions. And there were definitely not a lot of women who looked like me. I mean, there was one that everybody remembers who's one of my guests today, and Fuchsia Ward, who I consider, thank you. the first female administrator, African American, in the Kern High School District. I was fortunate when I got the job as associate superintendent. You know, what wasn't mentioned was I am the first woman to serve as an associate, a member of the superintendency, and definitely the first African American. So. But I think the greatest challenge along my administrative journey was at the beginning, the initial, you know, not seeing people who looked like me, and especially women. And, you know, as we're imparting knowledge to the young people and aspiring administrators in the room, I would say don't let that stop you. You know, just because you don't see someone who looks like you, I think you keep going, because I think sometimes as women, we put ceilings on ourselves, right? And one thing I tell, and there's some of them here, my former young administrators, they no longer work for me, but they did, is that you keep going and with your aspirations, and you make someone tell you no. Don't you tell yourself no and throw yourself out of the game. Stay in the game and make them tell you no. So.
Wonderful. Very nice. Thank you. Well, our time is just going fast. This is just so wonderful for everyone. Our last question to wrap up the panel, and then we want to do one or so pictures, so don't run off right away. This is an opportunity to inspire our students. I'm an alumni, so I get to say that. And along the college path and along the career and how to make our world better, as you all have done. And as successful leaders, your words are going to inspire and motivate. So what advice do you have for the college students today, both in the room and on the air? And I'll start with Dr. Lewis, and we'll work backwards.
Okay, this is my favorite question. So, because I think it's important, because I think we learn and we grow from other people's experiences. And just like I mentioned before that, I didn't see a lot of people who look like me in terms of being African American and also women. So I just think it's very important that we get the opportunity to share what's kind of motivated us and to keep us going, because you never know who in the audience shares some of your same background experiences. So the first thing I would say is don't let past circumstances or anything get in the way of your aspirations. The one thing I used to tell my students, it doesn't matter what zip code you come from, it doesn't matter how much money your parents made or didn't make, always aspire to what your passion is, and everything will take care of itself. And I would tell any individual, women, anyone, to find mentors that can help you along the way. Because there's always someone who's been where you're trying to go. And I'm just very fortunate because I've learned from teachers, I've learned from classified staff. They don't have to be administrators for you to learn from and to be mentored by, or for you to mentor. Two of the ladies sitting at this table over here are two of my greatest mentors. Fuchsia Ward, definitely within the Kern High School District, someone I could always go to, when there were situations where I needed outside input onto how to handle certain things within the district. Dee Slade even helped me handle a certain situation in the community, and all she did was tell me to just be quiet and be still and let the situation take care of itself. And that's exactly what I did. So I think it's important to find mentors and find somebody who's modeling the way that you aspire to go to and what you aspire to be. And just because, as I said before, you don't see anyone who looks like you in the position that you aspire to, don't put ceilings on yourself. Always chase your passion and go for what you want, okay? Because you don't want to look back and say, I wish I did, or I wish I would have. Always pursue your passion, and don't be afraid of failure, because everybody who's been successful up here and out there in the audience, we all have fears. But the thing is to just push through them. But don't push through them haphazardly. Have a plan. Always have a plan, okay? And always I want to say is that when you are successful and you're moving towards success, look back and bring somebody else with you. And one thing I will say to the women, now this has been my experience. May not be every woman's experience in the room, but sometimes we don't support each other enough like we should. And we need to be more supportive and to lift each other up and to congratulate each other and celebrate successes. Just be there for your sister, because it is different when you, and for the men in the room, I don't know, you don't mean it intentionally. You know, I know you don't mean it when you're sitting around the table discussing problems. The woman is the last one in the room you go to. Now, what do you think? After everybody's made the decision, but always let your voice be heard and never be afraid to speak up and give your opinion, because your opinion is important. It's important. And always keep your voice and don't let anyone take that from you. Also, I would say the biggest thing that has helped me throughout my career, and it comes from my upbringing, it comes from the mentors I've had, is always stay true to your core values and know your worth. And don't let anyone diminish your worth or make you feel less than or not important. But I think the true thing is just stay true to your values. Sometimes people are afraid to and they feel like they have to give in or give way to their values to make room for someone else. Don't do that. Stay true to your values and know your worth. I think that's enough for now.
Thank you. As a part of Women's History Month, Judge, do you have some words of inspiration for our students?
Sure, thank you. And I'm going to kind of follow up on one of the things that Brenda said. So she talked about following your passions, but I can tell you that for me, I don't know that that really resonated, because I had heard that a lot, and I didn't really have that focused what that was. And I've recently did a talk with another judge, and we were asked that same question, and I really loved what she said. She said, if you don't know what your passions are, follow what makes you angry. And I can tell you that for me, I don't know that anger, it was just more of a traumatic experience. You mentioned, Senator Fuller, that my brother had been killed. He had been murdered when I was a junior in high school. And I think prior to that, I had known that being a lawyer was something I was interested in, didn't really know how to do that, had never seen a lawyer that looked like me, but it was something that I just kind of had an eye for. I can't tell you that I aspired to be a judge, because, to be honest, being a lawyer was so far removed. Being a judge wasn't even in the realm of possibilities for me, which is tragic, because it should have been. And now nobody here, and more importantly, nobody listening on the students can ever say that, because they see a judge. And anyway, that was not part of my plan, though. But I can tell you that when my brother was murdered, what that did is it set into motion a series of events where, over the course of 2 years, I would watch my mother deal with lawyers and law enforcement, and really be frustrated by the process that she, at least her perception was. I was too young to really know what was going on, but in the sense that I know her perception was that the system did not treat her fairly. She was not getting responses to people. She didn't get calls back from people. And she really felt like my brother's death was not important. And I know that when people have tragedies that happen, and this is where I'm going with the advice, you have a choice how to respond to things that happen to you. There are so many things in your life that are going to happen outside of your control, but the one thing that you can control is what your response to them is. And in the case of my brother, I know that when it happened, I knew then that there were two things I wanted to do to come out of it. With the very day that I found out that he had to be identified, it was a whole process. That day, I remember being at West High. Go Vikings, if anyone's out there. I found out on the West High School cafeteria telephone that he had been identified as the person who had been killed. I went to class that day because one of the things that I knew had gotten him off track is stopping having education being a priority. And so I think that that is one of the things that I always knew was going to be key for me. So there's two lessons out of this. One, get your education. My mom kept saying that over and over again to the point where I think she willed it for me. And so I knew that for me, the difference between going down a path similar to my brother and going down a different path, making things different, was about getting your education, because education truly is the great equalizer. So no matter what your background is, no matter where you came from, no matter if you grew up on a below poverty level income like we did, no matter if you were raised by a single mother like I was, you have that education and nobody can ever take that away from you. And also take those tragedies that happened in your life and turn them. You figure out how you can use them. Can you be inspiration to somebody else? Can you use that to, like I did, choose a career and decide that you wanted people to be treated differently in the system? And now as a judge, every day, I get to decide and make that tone for people who are in the system be treated differently. I have the control over that. So I think that those are the two things that I would say. The last thing I would leave people with is I started my conversation with, if you can see it, you can be it. And I know that to probably hundreds of students that are watching today, they are the first in their families to go to college. They are the first, this or that to, and it's to their brothers, sisters, to their nieces, nephews, all of those things. People need you to lead the way for them. And so that means you have to finish your schooling and then reach back and go get them.
Wow, thank you. That's wonderful. So Mayor, would you like to share some experiences and inspirational words for our future generation here, and some of us who are still trying to continue to help?
First of all, I want to echo the sentiments, because I find myself in a package of what Ms. Lewis and Judge Avila have said and have already delivered a message. I was born and raised in Porterville. My parents were from Mexico. I have one brother, I have a son, I have a daughter-in-law and 2 grandsons. My father was from the state of Michoacan. My mother was from the state of Jalisco. He worked the fields for many years. My mother was a stay-at-home mother till my brother and I could be trusted to be left home by ourselves. Then she chose to go work in the packing houses. My mother died in 1995. My father in the year 2000. They were my foundation in my growing up years and even through adulthood. My husband Edward passed away in 2002. He was my support in every community aspect of service I chose to be involved with. I want to say, because of who we are and what you see before you, it doesn't mean that we did not have a different path to get to where we are today. My message is to set your goals, to seek the education and the experience. Echo, to seek and value mentors. Stay the course, even through obstacles. Support and continue the growth of others in your community. These are the guidelines that help me to reach the goals. I married young, became a single parent, and divorced. Then I became and was a victim of domestic violence. It was not my son's father, nor was it my husband, Edward. In the 1970s, 1980s, there were very few laws that would protect women. I made a plan to move safely. I learned during this time how to handle adversity. Later, supported by my husband, Edward, I became an advocate for domestic violence awareness to help other women to help themselves. So if you ever find yourself in a situation as such, seek out the agencies that are there to help you. We come from different walks of life. Look around you, see who we are right before you. It's never easy. It's difficult to sometimes attain that goal. As you follow my message, be bold with modesty and moderation, that if you speak, choose and use your voice wisely to be heard, so that people will listen to you. I have the confidence in the ability of the young women in our community and communities to become future leaders, to shape our future. Earlier, I challenged and gave out challenge coins to a few individuals without sharing with you what that challenge coin represents. In the military, it represents comrade, unity, that if you're given a challenge coin, it's respecting the person who receives them. The challenge coin I gave you today is to continue to enhance morale, to continue to increase the confidence to everyone, to provide solution and happiness. And I thank you for being a part of the panel and to have been invited today.
Well, I don't know about all of you, but I certainly feel inspired and energized to go out and try to do a few more things before I completely retire. You are amazing, and I've known all of you a little bit, but today has really made my heart full to know more about you and to see you go on, and I'll watch from the sidelines and be cheering you on. And we'd like to ask, oh, thank you, thank you. This is so wonderful, thank you. Oh, it was great, thank you, great. Wonderful. We'd like to ask the students, if we can just sit down for just a minute, the students who are among us today, I know this is a little surprise, and Dr. Christian, and Trustee Nan Heitberg. Today is Women's History Month, so we'd especially like to honor you and take pictures with all of our panelists, because I'd like the students to, the message that I took home today was, when I was a student, I was always too shy to get up and go say, hi, I'm a student, I would like to meet you, or I would like to come see you, or I would like you to give me your card, or something to keep a connection. Because we all got a connection today, a bond today. We know one another and we can feel each other today. And so now is the time for you students to get a picture, and we'll make sure somebody will help us make sure the picture gets to you. And we will make sure they get a picture too. And maybe someday, some of you will have a reason to go and visit with them on some issue. And the president of BC, when I was in college, told me on one of my first days there that you should just come to my office and say, I want to talk about cabbages and kings. I thought, oh, that's so silly, I'd never do that. Well, of course I did, because I can't shut up. And it was the first time that I realized that I could just go talk to anybody. I could go talk to anybody. And to this day, that's what's gotten me somewhere, is basically If I didn't know something, I went and talked to somebody somewhere. So anyway, we'll have all of you stand up, and we'll have Dr. Christian and trustee come up, and the students. Will the students come up? Are there some students here? Come on, brave, come up. Come on, students. Anybody who's attending one of the KCCD colleges or programs, come on.